Madison Square Garden is now the stage for a fresh India-linked political showdown. RSS chief Mohan Bhagwat is in New York for a major Indian-American gathering set to address what is billed as an event for oneness at the iconic venue. But that message of oneness is now being challenged by the mayor Zohran Mamdani, who sees what he calls an exclusionary vision and has made it clear that he does not support the rally. But before we delve deep into Zohran Mamdani's charge sheet against the RSS chief Mohan Bhagwat, let's first take you through the details of the event itself. So let's tell you more about Mohan Bhagwat's New York City event, because this is going to take place on this Saturday, the 29th of August, and the theme is Universal Oneness Celebration. So this is the event where Mohan Bhagwat is set to attend. This particular event is being organized by the American Hindus for Engagement and Dialogue. So this is the event that the RSS chief is set to attend this Saturday. Now the occasion, of course, is the RSS Centenary Year Outreach. Mr. Mohan Bhagwat is also expected to address the keynote address for this particular event. And the event also focuses on unity, social harmony, as well as civic responsibility. The audience also will be from the Indian American community. At least 5,000 people are expected to attend this particular event where Mohan Bhagwat will be addressing. And now coming back to Mamdani's opposition, the New York City mayor has cited what he describes as a fundamental disagreement with the ideological vision of the RSS. Mamdani is now saying that India was taught, or rather he was taught by his family about India, which is very different. An India that he describes as pluralistic and secular, where every person, irrespective of their multitude of identities, had a place. And Mamdani is making this argument not just as a New York's mayor, but also by invoking his identity as an Indian American with family ties to India.
The vision of India that I was taught by my family, and the one that I grew up being very familiar with, was of a pluralistic society, of a secular republic that believed in the belonging of each and every person who was from India. And it has been incredibly troubling to see the rise of a movement that is predicated on an exclusionary vision of any country, frankly. And so it is one that I find myself in deep opposition to, not only as an Indian American, but also as the mayor of a city that believes deeply in the belonging of each and every person, no matter their color, their creed, their religion, their faith. I don't support the rally, but I don't know if the city has any jurisdiction on canceling a private event.
And so as Mamdani is now making it clear, his opposition to Bhagwat's event at the Madison Square Garden is political and ideological, but not, by his own admission, a cancellation order. But he is not alone, because several faith-based organizations and activists in the United States have also now stepped up the attack, stepping up calls against the RSS chief's appearance in the event. The Hindus for Human Rights has argued that the RSS does not represent Hindus and has accused the organization of hate and persecution. The Indian American Muslim Council has gone further, arguing that Bhagwat does not speak for Indian Americans, and also calling on the US State Department to deny him a visa. And just last week, we also had the US Commission on International Religious Freedom. They also weighed in. It had then called for Bhagwat to be denied what it described as diplomatic courtesy, and also pushed for sanctions as well as travel bans against the RSS members. So the controversy is clearly widening from one mayor opposing the private event to a broader campaign by multiple organizations now seeking action against Bhagwat and the RSS. But amid this wave of criticism, US singer Mary Millben has now hit back at Mamdani and other critics of the RSS chief Mohan Bhagwat's proposed Madison Square Garden event. In fact, she's also now joining us live for an exclusive conversation. Thank you, ma'am, for speaking to Times Now. First up, help us understand really what is your assessment of Zohran Mamdani's opposition to the RSS chief's event at Madison Square Garden?
It's always great to visit with you and the Times Now family. You know, Mamdani's opposition is directed to his opposition towards the prime minister, and really the prime minister's overall leadership and agenda in India. Mamdani represents a sect of the Democratic Party in the United States that is a very anti-democracy, the anti-Semitic very anti-Israel, anti-Christian, anti-religious freedom. It is a movement that even the Democratic Party in the United States is trying to distance itself from. And that is this Democratic Socialists of America, this DSA group. It's a socialist group that is very anti-democracy, anti-religious freedom, anti-anything that doesn't subscribe to their socialist ideals. And to be honest, none of us can really understand what they mean. But Mamdani, specifically in the context of his recent speech, got up and basically regurgitated those talking points of the DSA, and certainly as it pertains to the anti-agenda to conservative values. And the prime minister in India certainly is a leader who represents all people, but he and the BJP certainly represent the conservative voice in India. And so it is a conversation of politics. And that's where his real opposition is. And Mamdani himself, if I can just, say, quite frankly, is a person who is not at all inclusive. I mean, he wants to criticize this RSS chief and others who come into New York or come into the United States for private events or their own agendas. But he himself doesn't represent anything that is inclusive or speaks to the ideals of America. And what I mean by the ideals of America, I'm speaking to those conversations of unity or oneness in the context of the title of this rally that the RSS chief is doing, and elements and ideals of democracy. He doesn't represent any of those ideals. And so his opposition is anti-democracy, it's anti-Semitic, it's anti-Christian, it's anti-religious freedom, it's anti-Modi, and it's anti-India.
Right. I was also going through your social media profile on X as well, where you had put out a post where you said that, you're hoping for a meaningful dialogue on religious freedom as well when Bhagwat does address that keynote address. So what are you expecting? What is your expectations from Mr. Bhagwat's address?
Well, to be honest, no one really knows what RSS is in the United States unless you're a part of the Indian American community. So I think RSS has gotten more attention in the last 24 hours because of Mamdani's speech than any attention that it has had at large in the United States. If you were to walk down the street in New York or talk to the average American in the United States, they have no idea what RSS is or what this event represents. So I believe that certainly this event has a great opportunity, even in its mission and message of supporting the Hindu community. And I'm a Christian woman. I have many Hindu friends, and I'm a big supporter and proponent of religious freedom. So I think that this event has the great opportunity to first educate people about RSS, certainly speak about the ideals that the prime minister supports. The prime minister is a leader who promotes and supports religious freedom. Even in the context of what the RSS represents in India, he is a leader that supports religious freedom. And India is a democracy that is to support religious freedom. And so I think the event has a great opportunity to speak to unity, to speak to oneness in the context of their title, and talk about, even as they advocate for the Hindu faith, how they also advocate for religious freedom. And I think that would be a very smart and important part of this event. Of course, every country faces religious persecution. There's part of that in India, in America, and countries all across the world. And so I don't believe that India is a place that is promoting religious persecution, but it is certainly happening. And so I believe that this event can bring light to the positives of the prime minister being a leader who supports religious freedom. And certainly the RSS can bring to light their support, even as they support the Hindu community, supportive of religious freedom. As it pertains to the politics, it speaks for itself. Again, Mamdani is a part of a very radical socialist movement in the United States that is very anti-democracy, anti-conservative. And so, of course, they're going to be against this event happening at MSG because it directly aligns with the prime minister, who is a part of the conservative voice in India.
Right, absolutely. Very interesting take. But I also want to understand from you, because you also said that there are not many people in the United States who really know about the RSS. So then what makes you defend the RSS? What is it that you know about the RSS and something that you like?
You know what I do know. I don't know all of the origins of RSS. Now, of course, I've read about certainly some of its the commentary that has associated the RSS to movements of Nazism or Hitler. I don't certainly subscribe to anything that supports that kind of ideal. But I will say those that I have met or been affiliated with RSS, and even those that support RSS in the United States, I have found that the organization has been solely focused on a peaceful education and movement and support of the Hindu faith. And it is my hope, again, that the RSS chief, certainly welcome to the United States, and I hope he enjoys his time here. Even more so, I hope that he uses this event as a way to, yes, speak of the positive messages that support the Hindu faith, but more importantly, speaks to how the RSS is an organization that also supports religious freedom. If they can do both, then I believe that they'll have a successful event in the United States. And those negative narratives that have been put out about the RSS can be combated in this one moment in New York.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Mary Millben, for joining us on the broadcast and, helping us understand your perspective and as well as the perspective of the United States on this address of Mr. Mohan Bhagwat. Thank you so much for joining us here on Times Now.